Greetings YouTube, happy Tuesday. Even though the nature of this video isn't exactly happy, I always like to start out my videos saying have a great day, and I hope that you are having a good day, or at least this video hopes you have a better day. And as always, thank you for clicking on my channel. So today I want to talk about another mastery issue which has unfortunately become a pattern lately in the game. So here we have a user who has identified an issue in the game that they're pretty confident is a mastery that is not working correctly. This, of course, is not a new thing to the game. We've seen this happen with several masteries, especially in the past couple of weeks with Courage and Assassin. And so as you scroll down, you can see, and I'll post the forum post link, as always, with a pinned comment when I post this video. But when you scroll down, you can see that this is the screenshot with no recoil, right? We've got Captain America Infinity War doing 59,000, basically 60,000 damage, what appears to be on the Special 2, I would guess. And then with recoil, we have 62,546, but that is not a 30% increase. In fact, 10% of 59,000 is 5,977. So a 30% increase in theory would be this times 3, which would put the damage right about 75,000, or at least that's what the summoner expected. And so to sacrifice the recoil damage of health for only a 3,000 increase in damage definitely is not worth the Suicide Mastery setup unless you were doing something like a Legends run where every single health tick counted toward a timer. Then I suppose that would work. But, you know, full disclosure, I have not used Suicide Masteries in years because I don't think they are worth the trade-off on Alliance War defense. Now, since we finally have a break in Alliance Wars period after the season is coming to an end soon, maybe that's a time to experiment with Suicide Masteries, maybe not. But clearly this person uses Suicide Masteries and is not happy with this because their interpretation of this, which has been the interpretation of the community for quite some time, is that the recoil should be increasing their attack on specials by 30%. Now that can be argued a little bit, but certainly it's more than what this like 5 to 10% is. And recoil, in general, I've written this down. The listed mastery description is it increases special attack damage for all champs by a percentage, but they sacrifice a percentage of health for each activation. So I believe the first level of recoil is 5% health sacrifice for 30%. But this is the issue, of course, is that the game has quote-unquote evolved and masteries have not evolved with the game. This is the same argument that we discussed in previous videos with Courage and Assassin, or at least that is in the minds of Kabam. So when you scroll down, you'll see, you know, a lot of different comments. That's what I was thinking too, but that seems wrong. The recoil would be increasing damage so minimally. Shouldn't it include buffs and everything? I agree. Considering the punitive health cost, it should be a final multiplier of a percentage applied. So, you know, I think the takeaway from the community, first of all, is if recoil is not broken and you're sacrificing 5% health to only do 3,000 more damage on something like a Special 2, it is really not worth the time, especially given how expensive those Mastery Cores are. Those are some of the most expensive Mastery Cores on the whole Mastery tree. But finally, after all of these comments, you can see that we have a response from Kabam, and I believe it's Kabam Lyra, who says, "Hi, to clarify the way recoil works, it will increase the damage of special attacks based upon the base attack only. It will apply this attack bonus when the special attack hits, and to most damaging effects, such as bleed, triggered when the special attack hits. Thank you for the feedback about the wording of the description. We've passed it along for consideration." So the last line is really what the takeaway is of this video, because it is following kind of that disturbing pattern we've seen where instead of evolving a mastery to make it work better in the game, it's much easier and cheaper, I'm sure, for Kabam to just change the wording of the description of the mastery so that they actually don't have to go in and change or update the mechanics of the mastery itself. Or for that matter, because there will be some people who hear that and say, "Prof, you're being really reckless to suggest updating a mastery for the game because you could wreck it. And my feedback is, okay, fine. If that's the case, then do a beta test. At least tell the community that we're going to try the update and we'll see if it's too OP or not. If it is, fine, scale it back. I'm not saying you should break the game, but what I am saying is you should make a conservative effort to the community to say, hey, we want to keep these masteries that you have put thousands and thousands of units into for cores. We want to make them as effective as possible. And if it seems like they're just not fitting the current state of the game and they're not what you thought you were buying, we need to do our best to at least have full transparency that we're trying to improve it. Not to say, oh, yeah, you're right. It's not really a good amount of wording for this state of the game. So we'll just change the wording and leave it as is. As you can imagine, there was almost immediate feedback to some of this that was not the most positive. Yeah, at first glance it seems broken, but turns out to be yet again another wording error due to outdated game mechanics. Fixing this would be highly appreciated. And then you scroll down, another expensive mastery that's at least advertised in a way that invites misinterpretation, if not being advertised downright falsely, joins the club. It's quite the club. This one, pure skill, inequity, courage, assassin, and possibly resonate. If they hit it off, they could go for a well-attended, you know what that word is. I'm starting to get curious about a lot more masteries, including the actual suicides as well now. What an awfully confusing and expensive mess this game has become. Man. So, Born to Hula, I think you were expressing, fairly eloquently what a lot of frustration is that I receive on a daily basis from people who are burnt out because the last thing they want to do is feel like they're not getting something out of a mastery that they spent so many units and cores. And there have been recently, in the last 6 months, some cash-based, really fantastic mastery core offers to get mastery cores for about half off what their retail price is in the game. And so people have quote-unquote whaled out their cash to update their masteries, including unlocking multiple levels of suicide masteries. So if they're doing something that they thought was going to get X% of damage increase, like say 30%, and now they're finding out that really the 30% is only for base attack, and really what it was going to do as we scroll back up to this is sacrifice 5% health to give you 3,000 more damage. I can all but guarantee quite a few summoners who spent those masteries would not have invested the units or the cores into it. And most importantly, they probably wouldn't have spent their hard-earned cash on those mastery deals if they knew that the mastery was really not that effective. So you're looking at this picture. Again, 62,000 with the recoil versus 59,000 without the recoil. It is not even 3,000 more damage on that special. And we know that 10% would be about 6,000. So if it's less than 5%, you're basically doing almost a direct parallel of sacrificial health. You're sacrificing 5% health and gaining about 5% damage. And if that's what recoil truly is, then yes, it needs to be changed, but also more importantly, there has to be some kind of compensation for users that put their units and their mastery cores in this mastery because it's not as advertised what they thought it would be. Again, if you put down gain 5% base attack for 5% health lost, so many users, I can just guarantee you, would not have spent the cores and the units on it because it's far less attractive than, say, increases special attack damage for all champs by 30%, but they sacrifice 5% health for each activation. Clearly, 30% is more attractive of a selling point than 5%. So, recoil, another broken mastery, and once again, we have an explanation that isn't denying that the advertisement is incorrect, but instead of saying, hey, maybe we should make this what it should be, it's let's just change the wording, which then screws over everybody who thought they were buying something that was misadvertised, and now it's going to be far less effective if the description changes to say 5% from 30% and at least base attack from special attack. Then you've got just multiple issues of buying something that was essentially fool's gold. It looks like gold from the outside, but when you get into it, it actually cheapens the product because it's not the real thing that you thought you were buying when you actually made the purchase. I am not somebody, again, who uses suicide masteries. I have only invested in one level of recoil and I believe one level of double edge. I just haven't ever really had the usage for them. I've never done a Legends run. I routinely play some of my best defenders as mini bosses, or even sometimes the main boss of Alliance War, so it would be terrible for me to risk having that recoil damage on Alliance War, and I really don't want to reset my masteries like some people do 2 to 3 times a day at times. It's just not worth the unit sacrifice, so I don't use them. But if you are watching this, and if you do use masteries that are suicide mastery based, how does this affect your perception of what you've invested in with your units and your cores? Is this something you're perfectly okay with, and you're going to give Kabam a pass, and you're just going to say, hey, you know, I get it, the wording needs to be changed, like that one summoner said? You know, they actually thanked Kabam for acknowledging that the wording was different. Or are you kind of taking this how I'm taking this, which is, look, if the wording is incorrect, so be it. But if what was advertised was misleading and was actually far greater than the actual output, the actual product of the mastery, then I think I should have my cores back. And of course, the biggest thing is, it's not like you can get those Apple refunds or Google Play refunds back. It's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, we can refund your money. Although, if it was recent and you bought one of those mastery deals in like the last week or so, maybe it's worth opening a help ticket. Who knows? Either way, I'd love to get your feedback on this. And as always, thank you to everyone who continues to send me updates like this. I totally would have missed it on both the forums and, of course, in the game, since I don't use these masteries, had you not sent this my way.